right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat.
No, I'm Eric.
And today we are going to be talking about the crazy new RPG that Tabata is announced. It's actually quite ridiculous, but we want to get into it. Maybe it'll be pretty cool. And then we also have a news article surrounding the pricing for the new Xbox One All Digital Edition. So we're going to get into that. And then we're going to finally end the podcast off with a longer topic from Discord. The topic suggested on Discord, I should say, rather, in which we are being asked to name our favorite and least favorite characters in every single Final Fantasy game. That is going to take a while, but we're going to get through it. So we think that topic will take a while, so that's why there's only 3 topics today. But before we get into all of that, Eric, do you want to start us off with what you've been playing this week? And looks like if anyone's wondering, Eric's got some new digs in the background.
Yeah, to get some context, I'm on my main computer, which is actually in a different room from my gaming room. So that is why it looks a little different tonight, but you still get my pretty face right here for what it's worth. And but I haven't been playing too much. I beat Final Fantasy VII on the Switch. That was a good time. I mean, I think this is like the time maybe throughout my life I've beaten FF7. Yeah. And it's still good. It holds up great. The storyline was very compelling till the very end. I was very impressed.
Yeah, you know, I've been playing the same game. I still haven't beaten it on the Switch. Obviously, I've beaten it before several times. I don't know exactly how many times, but I've played it many, many times. And, you know, every time I play this game, like, I think I get something new out of it. It's kind of weird because usually I start off like playing the game the same way that I always have before. But then, you know, with each new playthrough, I'll try to do something that's a little different. And this time I'm playing it, trying to play the same way I played the first time I played the game. So usually I will have Ares or Aerith not in my party because, you know, she's not really good for the long haul. So this time I'm thinking back to my first time playing through the game, and I'm keeping her in my party until that moment, right? And then also I'm trying to like go a little bit easier on the grinding. Usually when I play the game now today, like I try to like, you know, get every single item and like really try to like just dominate every single boss and see if I can do it in like very few rounds. But this time through, I'm trying to, you know, just kind of gently go through the game casually and not, you know, grind up money or grind up my level too high. And that way to see if like it can be a challenge again. I don't know. It's kind of a, you know, new way to play the game. Did you change anything you've done on this playthrough, or did you just go through it for the story?
I didn't do any major side quests. I got the ultimate weapon for Cloud. And I got Cloud. I used Cloud, Tifa, and Barret as my main party. And I got a lot of materia awoken. I got level 4 limit breaks for all 3 of them, including Cloud in the battle arena. I was like I got myself up to level 60 getting that. I did accomplish those. I didn't go out and do stuff like the Chocobo or the Knights of the Round or anything. I did very minimal side questing. But having everyone's ultimate weapon and level 4 limit break and around in their 60s, like Sephiroth was no problem to take down.
Yeah, but that's like one of the bosses in RPGs that I can remember where totally just like dominating the boss, like it doesn't particularly bother me. It's like kind of like poetic justice for the game. Like there's like so much like built on that moment, and then like when it finally happens, it just, even if it is, you know, like really easy, it's almost cooler that it is that easy, at least for me anyways.
And you know, everything is so much faster to grind when you have 3x on.
Yeah, you know, I used to not like using any of those, and like I think now I am all about the 3x. And it's for Final Fantasy VII, at least on the Switch, the 3x is actually, I find, like appropriately the appropriate speed. It is a little fast. You can get yourself into a little bit of trouble.
It's a little too fast, but yeah, but if you're grinding through battles, it's very nice.
Yeah, I just mean compared to the times 3 in, for example, Final Fantasy XII, Zodiac Age, that one is just ridiculously fast. I don't know if that's because it's kind of a blend of an action-oriented turn-based battle system that like any increase in speed at all can, like, in a matter of like 6 seconds, your characters can be dead. So that just feels extremely fast to me. But in this game, like, it's actually kind of manageable. So I don't mind it so much. And, Cloud only looks slightly ridiculous when he's running at ×3 speed. Whereas, in some of the later games, it looks pretty absurd when Balthier's going like 150 miles an hour or whatever, or Vaughn.
Yeah, that was actually just a band-aid for the criticism people gave of the original FF12. Was that there was a lot of traversing in between, and battles could feel like slow and meticulous at going through. So that was kind of like a band-aid thing they tried to do instead of like. In all fairness, it's a HD remaster, not remake of the game. So they just added that in, and
just kind of help with the pacing. Yeah,
I think it did help when I played through the Zodiac Age. I mean, the parts of the game that I like kind of just like dread, like the 100-foot tower, like place near the end of the game. It was so much better when I had that fast forward button.
Or like Guru Vegan, I really hate that dungeon too. In later Final Fantasy XII, that's pretty obnoxious too. So yeah, like for dungeons and stuff like that you really just get tired of, that can be a really helpful feature. And honestly, I find that in Final Fantasy VII too. Like occasionally we'll get to like certain segments of the game where there's just dialogue going on that Final Fantasy VII is a great game, but occasionally you'll have a scene or two where I don't care for it, and I'm just like, okay, let's just get through this. It's silly, or it just doesn't really resonate with me that much. But usually most of the time I'll kind of let the game play at normal speed for those story moments. One thing I did notice with Final Fantasy VII on this playthrough, though, that I don't think I've really recognized before is that. Well, let me back up and say I've always heard one of the criticisms of this game is that there's not really a reason after you leave Midgar, at least for a while, for you to be traveling to all these locations. It kind of feels unnatural and like kind of linear in its structure. And, they don't really give you a good reason to go to the Chocobo farm or to cross the water or the river and, go to Junon and everything like that. You're only going there because that's the only place to go, right? And, under the simple guise of, oh, let's find Sephiroth. I always thought that was kind of stupid, but now that I'm playing it like this playthrough, I tried to think about that while I'm going through this and kind of question myself, like, why are we going to all these places when Red 13 says, I'll stay in the party till Cosmo Canyon? It's like, why would he assume we're going to Cosmo Canyon? I mean, on the entire planet, like, why are we assuming we're going there? And I guess I could see when people say, there's not really a good reason to go to these places, but I don't know. It doesn't detract from the game, but that is one observation I've had, is that, the linear structure of it does kind of lead you down a path without any real indicator for a narrative reason why you're going to these places, at least a strong one, I think. So kind of a interesting take.
Well, you're kind of following the footsteps of where Sephiroth is going. If you've noticed, if you go out through the game, like I remember going through Corel, that area, there's a guy at the beginning when you're walking through that says, hey, there was a band in a black cloak who walked by. And they mentioned stuff like that in Costa del Sol, I believe, that like he went in that direction. So your party, if you're asking around and talking to NPCs, are guiding you into those directions. So they don't feel completely random if you're, getting
paying
yourself
attention
immersed into the towns and stuff. So it does work in that way.
I do think that, like, especially once you get the Junon, like, there's actually people are saying like, hey, like we saw Sephiroth, or there was a sighting of Sephiroth. So it kind of makes sense. But I guess maybe just that trip from Midgar to there, it just seems kind of forced. But they do throw that scene in there, which is very, very cool, with like the little snake creature on the spike. And they're like, oh man, did Sephiroth do this? It kind of gives you an indicator to do that. So
if I saw that, I'd be like, oh, going home. If there's one man who could take on a snake that big and put it through a pike, it's like,
I think it was like the top. I think it was like the top of a tree or something too. Like he went the extra mile of like using a tree to impale it. That was a great scene though. So, but anyways, I've been playing that, and then I've been kind of casually playing a couple other things, but I don't want to bore you all with my ADHD playing of games. But that's been the main one I've been kind of focused on between work and everything else. So, uh, stepping up to our first topic, though, we have the most perplexing development in the world of Tabata that we've had thus far. I actually thought this was a late April Fool's joke, but it is not an April Fool's joke, and I don't even want to like criticize this too much. But Tabata is coming out with a new RPG. God, I had a whole article up. Give me 1 second. It's it's very strange because I don't really get the RPG elements of it because it's called the Pegasus Dream Tour, and here we go. I have an article from IGN. Let me just, I guess I can just read like some small portions from it real quick. That way, everyone that's listening can kind of get an idea. But it says Final Fantasy 15 director Hajime Tabata and his studio JP Games will be creating the first ever official Paralympic video game, the Pegasus Dream Tour. That's what it's called. Announced by the International Paralympic Committee, the Pegasus Dream Tour will be part of a bigger initiative to increase the engagement of the youth market in the Paralympic Games, an event that is now widely regarded as the world's third biggest sport event after the Olympic Games and the FIFA World Cup. The Pegasus Dream Tour will release worldwide in 2020 and will help celebrate the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games, which will take place from August 25th, September 6th of next year. As for the game itself, it is set to be a sports-based RPG where players will compete in virtual Paralympic Games and awaken their quote-unquote extra power abilities within a fantasy metropolis known as Pegasus City. Ahead of the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics, we are eager to explore innovative ways to engage with new and younger global audiences. The IPC president Andrew Parsons said, "We believe the game will help boost interest in the Paralympic Games, make it easier for people to all over the world to enjoy and experience the heated atmosphere, passion, and excitement of the event," and keeps on going about how great this is. It says, let's see, from JP Games, this is a quote from Tabata. "This is not just an ordinary video game about sports," Tabata said about his new project. JP Games is going to represent fully the wonders that are unique to Paralympic sports in this brand new role-playing game, a genre we excel in with video game. With this video game, we want to contribute to the future growth of the Paralympic Games, not just as a sporting event, but as an entertainment as well, with contents that we hope will have lasting value in the future. The Pegasus Dream Tour will be released worldwide in 2020 in various platforms, including smartphones. And here you can see on screen, this is the kind of marketing screenshot we have here. You see a lady with angel wings, and she's in a wheelchair with a basketball. You see another lady who's got green angel wings, but she's missing a leg, but she's got like a artificial prosthetic leg. And you see another guy who's got red angel wings, and he's missing a leg, but he's got a prosthetic leg. And it's all like light showy, and there's like, lights shooting all over the place and stuff. This looks ridiculous. Eric, what do you think?
Oh my! I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's such a very particular thing to make an RPG out of
I
that, like, I don't 100% know how you approach something like that. I think there have been, I think at least in Japan, there's been popular sports RPGs. I can't name any on top of my head, but this seems like to be like going in a very particular, or God, particular is like a very popular word for this.
well,
And it's God, I can't even. It's so weird and out of this world. Like I'm even thinking to myself, the wings are probably just like symbolic, or like just like a symbolic type thing. But they say like the Pegasus trial. Like, is like this going to be based in reality, and or is this going to be based, or is this actually going to be based like in the Olympus, where there are like physically handicapped people competing in a realm of gods?
It's I don't know. All we know is it's a fantasy metropolis known as Pegasus City. I I don't know. I mean, like on one hand, like I don't want to criticize it or make fun of it because it does seem like it's somewhat for a good cause, right? It's raising awareness about people that are, handicapped that are still trying to go out and do cool things like compete in sports. Maybe they were athletes before they got handicapped or like some accident happened to them or they got injured and now they're still able to, compete and the thing they love, and I think that's great, and I think it's cool to raise awareness about that. But I'm not even sure if this like really does that justice because like this is a fantasy RPG. Like if you look at it, I don't like you said I don't know if this is symbolism or what, but I mean I'm looking at a picture right now and the woman in like a bikini or something that has a that's missing a leg. She's also got some kind of prosthetic arm. The guy has some kind of goggles on. So something tells me this isn't really going to be giving the players like an idea of what it's like to be handicapped because it's going to be all like RoboCopy, like with people like with like superhuman abilities to be able to like see through walls or something like you know what I'm saying like it doesn't feel like it's actually going to be about handicapped people. They've obviously added a lot of flair to it.
But well, the crack a joke real quick. I mean, if she has the wings, does she need the wheelchair? If I was wheelchair bound and I had wings, I could just fly wherever I want. Like I probably wouldn't be using a chair. I mean, I guess maybe I won't want to rest my wings or something. But I mean, jokes
I,
aside, I think on a personal level, I think it's a good thing to like represent this type of sport and everything through a game, which I think is a good way to get the I like to show your appreciation for like a sport like this, especially with how popular it's getting. I'm not exactly sure if the RPG genre is
is
the
the best.
genre to do it justice. I think something more on the lines of um, more action or like an actual sports game
Sure.
would probably do it better justice. Again, I really need to see what the product is. This is all conceptual talk, so um, it, it's not that I'm not against it by any means, and hopefully Tabata can make something cool out of it. It's just something so ridiculously unexpected.
Yeah, and like I guess you kind of alluded to this, but I don't really know what the RPG part of the game is going to be. I mean, cuz it seems very predominantly sports based. Even the artwork, they all seem like, you got the girl with the basketball and I don't know what the other people are doing. I assume some kind of track or something like that. But maybe it's going to be some kind of persona type game where
I imagine
you
it'd be more tactical,
more tactical like
like
RT.
blitzball, like automatic blitzball, something similar to that.
But you just level up?
You level up characters, you set abilities on them, you make the call to like pass, shoot, or
See,
try to bypass your opponents. I mean, I could see it being similar to that.
how I was yeah, I could see like the gameplay being that style. That's the only thing that would really make sense to me. Like I have a hard time seeing it, like being action based cuz or anything like that because there would be an obvious advantage to like having somebody that's not in a wheelchair, right? So there's that aspect of it, but I guess I just wondered, like, is there going to be a strong narrative here? Is there going to be a strong story? If there is, that might be kind of cool. And I just figured like this looks like it might have some kind of like persona type aesthetic where you do your daily thing and you have your friends and you talk to your friends, make choices, but then you go out and get close to your team members, but then you have the actual game. I don't know how they would really make a strong story out of this, but that's
Have you
the only
seen a
way I could
sports
see
anime?
it. I'm sorry.
Have you ever seen a sports anime?
No, but I'm not a
I can't
huge
name one off
anime
the top of
fan.
my head, but they make something like soccer or basketball just like really intense, like anime ridiculous level intense, and it's just very entertaining to watch
Yeah.
on that level. So maybe it could be just something like a little just like out of this world and crazy like that. If it's already sent like with the setting it has already, it's already open to like being over the top and fun
Hmm.
type of way. Like
Yeah.
Japan is can be good at sometimes.
So, and I think from that aspect, it might be kind of cool if you are, injured or whatever, if you can, as a kid, having a game like that to identify with a character and everything like that and get kind of, make you feel better about yourself and everything like that. I think that's really, really cool too. I think on another note, though, in the back of my head, I'm just wondering, was this like Tabata's plan all along? Is this the game that he wanted to make? Or did he just leave Square Enix thinking like, I'm going to be able to do big things and realize like, oh crap, I don't have a company, like I don't have resources, and then now he's making mobile games and stuff like that? Or is this just about him not being stressed out and he just wants something a little more low key?
I think he's building a small library before pursuing something big. His company needs like something to at least like fall back on. So when they approach another company with a big title, unless they plan on self-publishing it, which I doubt that will
Hmm.
be the case, it's easier to self-publish like a mobile app game, at least when, especially when it's not big budget. So they need a couple stuff under their belt, or either that it could be like they're practicing how mobile touching works. I don't know if you ever played Party Wave on
No.
your phone or tablet, but that was actually made by Mistwalker. And if you look at it, when you look at it, it doesn't look anything like something Hironobu Sakaguchi would make.
Right,
But
he's just testing technology. Yeah.
yeah, they were. It was mostly like testing the technology on how to make touchscreen work, and they made a game out of it, and they just released it. It was a small little, I think like $1 to $2 game that you could just goof around on. But so it was nothing serious, but they were testing that, and maybe this is Tabata's way of testing
What I
screen integration.
I think that's probably a fairly accurate assessment. What I find strange about that, though, is if you are trying to make another studio or another company and you want it to be successful, he's got a big name right now. He's people are very, very interested in what his next project is going to be after Final Fantasy 15 and after leaving Square Enix. This is the game that Tabata finally gets to make himself. He's always had to make other people's projects before. He never got to make his own game. He always had to do what Square Enix wanted, right? Come in and make Crisis Core, Type Zero, Final Fantasy 15. None of these games were completely his own game. This is the first time Tabata gets to make his own game, right? So I think there's a lot of excitement around that, and this seems like a very odd way to come out strong. Like it seems to me like I would want to come out as big as I can and just be like, this is what I'm doing, and like you kind of see that in the past, I guess, with for example, Xenosaga. That was that back in the day that was pretty exciting, right? So I'm with I can't remember his name, the creator of Xenogears and Xenoblade Chronicles. What's his name? This is gonna bug me. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Say it again.
The director of the Xeno games.
Oh, I don't remember on top of my head.
Hold on. Takahashi. Okay. So, after he left Square, like he came, he kind of did his own thing for a little bit. And, his people were really interested in his first game, and it ended up being Xenoblade, or not Xenoblade, Xenosaga. And I mean, like that was actually like a very interesting game, very stylistically similar to what he'd done before. But he actually got to do his own thing without restriction to a little bit of extent. Like he ended up being restricted anyways down the line, but that's just an example of like what I would have expected from Tabata once the chains are lifted. Obviously there's budgetary constraints, but at least creatively, with like a story perspective, like finally getting to be able to do what he wanted. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying this isn't exactly what I would have expected from him.
The difference with that and other companies is when Hironobu Sakaguchi was playing Mistwalker for quite a while,
Hmm.
so he probably had a lot of plans going on
A
with.
lot of
Uh,
talking to people, getting money. Yeah.
yeah, same with the Xeno saga, Xen director.
Hmm.
He probably already had deals going on with like, well, if I leave, I can go to this company and start making games from here. So I mean,
That's
that's
a
what
good
I would
point.
imagine it being. Tabata just, this was a very recent thing he did. He just left. They were mid production of making episodes for FF15,
Yeah.
and he left in the middle of it, and they canceled all the DLCs except Arden's, and he went and did his own company. So I think he didn't really. My guess is he didn't really have a pre-plan for this,
Yeah.
um, or not so much that he was thinking very far ahead. It's and this being
Well,
the first thing. I don't. I think he may be. I think his company maybe just be going like really indie and just like supporting themselves for a while.
which can work too. Maybe if this ends up getting a kind of a cult following, that can kind of sustain the company and bring in a little bit of revenue, and maybe he can go off and do some other things too. So, sometimes big creators get kind of burnt out and they go to new projects and kind of do their little wacky little side projects for a while till they get refreshed, and then they can take on something big. So maybe that's what he's doing here. It's definitely unusual topic choice, but I think we did see a expected release time of, yeah, it says worldwide in 2020. So I don't know if that means early 2020 or later 2020, but
You mean Moi gets to play it?
what's that?
Moi gets to play it?
Yeah, I guess, right?
Awesome.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll give it a shot for sure.
Oh, I'll play it.
Yeah. So, anyways, there's that. Moving on to our next topic, though. Very crazy news. We have the Xbox One S all digital edition. There's been all sorts of information that's come about the pricing of this console. It's speculated to be coming out on May 7th. And I mean, I'm seeing this all over the place. I saw this on at least 35 websites. It's all over YouTube. So it's pretty much, we're pretty certain about this. So anyways, this is on Tech Radar. Let me pull this up and we'll kind of get into the pricing of this, but it seems unusually priced. So it says images and specs leaked out for Microsoft's all-digital Xbox One S. We've known for a while that Microsoft is planning a disc-free all-digital version for its Xbox One console. Now we've got some leaked images and a handful of specs to pour over as launch day approaches. The new pictures and information obtained by WinFuture don't really bring with them any surprises. The console looks exactly how you'd expect. WinFuture is a European website, by the way. I think it's actually a German website. But it says an Xbox One S without a lot of slot for discs. Essentially, the image shows an Xbox One S without the disc compartment. It's basically, this looks the same. But anyways, the big news here is that it's going to have 4K video playback and HDR, but the price is apparently set at 229.99 euros. So if you do a little translation of that, that comes out in US dollars to $258.85. So, and it says on the website that Microsoft is unlikely to apply a direct currency conversion. So there's some fluctuation with that price. But what's baffling about it is it's going to have, it's for $260 roughly, you're going to have 3 games in it. It's going to be Minecraft, Sea of Thieves, and Forza Horizon 3. And it's going to have a 1 terabyte hard drive. And what a lot of people are saying is, hey, they were expecting at least like most $200 pricing on this. $260 seemed a little expensive, especially for only getting a 1 terabyte hard drive. That's not very appealing. It doesn't come with the Microsoft Game Pass or anything. 1 terabyte, you can fill it up real quick. And if you go on Amazon right now, you can find like old like bundles Like I'm looking at right here, Xbox One S, 1 terabyte console. So it's the exact same console with a disk drive, 1 terabyte hard drive. Same thing, but you can play discs on it. And it's a Battlefield 5 bundle, and it's $232, and it's sold by Microsoft on Amazon. So the question is, like, why would anybody buy this for $260? And people have pointed out, well, it comes with 3 games, but I mean, okay, like Minecraft, like, okay, if you're in the Minecraft, you probably already own that game. Sea of Thieves, that's actually, not a bad game to get on there for free. But Forza Horizon 3, I mean, like, that's like kind of like the older one. There's a Forza Horizon 4. But people have kind of pointed out, like, why are you not giving me that one? It just doesn't seem like a very good deal.
Are they not offering a version without the games included? Because I would imagine the console would be cheaper if the games were not included. Maybe like all the way down to below $200. Because I don't know how much those 3 games are worth now, but
yeah,
they probably add up to probably somewhere around $50 if I had to guess. So like say. Let's say if I'm going to go buy Sea of Thieves right now, Sea of Thieves, that is it's on sale for $45 right now, but it's normally $60 still.
yeah.
So Xbox still values that at $60. So, I mean, I guess you're getting some value out of the games when you buy them, but maybe. I don't know why they're not just selling the console by itself, or maybe offering some variation, because some people probably don't want to play those 3 games. They don't want to play an online game, or like they don't want to play an MMO, they don't want to play a racing game, and they don't like Minecraft. So,
well, why don't they just, instead of giving you 3 games, because I understand it's an all digital edition, so if you buy the console, and you want to like open it up and play it, like. You can't just borrow a game from somebody, so you have to have a game on there. Why don't they just give everyone access to Game Pass for like 3 months, and they can sit there and, like, that's Microsoft's big thing. Like you can play all these games for free, right? Just give you like a 90-day subscription for buying the system to Game Pass and let you play these games, like tons and tons of games. Because putting 3 games on there, if that's jacking the price up, that defeats the whole purpose of not having a disk drive, right? Not having a disk drive, that's supposed to lower the cost of the console. Why would you raise the price back up with like, $60 games? That doesn't make any sense.
well, how much? Not including Anthem, the Anthem package, which
Or
I'm very sure it's a limited time thing. How much would it cost to buy an Xbox One S?
So the one I was looking at was a Battlefield 5 bundle for $232. They do have an Anthem.
Just straight out regular Xbox One S.
Okay, so I'm looking at. Okay, there's lots of bundle editions on Amazon. So I'm looking up right now. We got an Anthem bundle. I know you want the regular console, but Anthem bundle for $250. Minecraft bundle for $226. Xbox S 1 terabyte console discontinued. That's $207. So I'm assuming that there's something wrong with that. Xbox One S 1 terabyte console starter bundle $248. Fortnite bundle $245. I'm trying to find just the console.
So starter bundle is going to be it, because they discontinued the console by itself. So you get stuff from what I see on Amazon. They discontinue it by itself. So it's $250 for the starter pack. Bundle includes the console, wireless controller, 3 months of Xbox Game Pass, 3 months of Xbox Live Gold, HDMI cable, 4K capable, and AC power cable, and access.
That's a way better deal.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
why would you get it? That doesn't make any sense. Some people, I saw Spawnwave. If y'all haven't checked out his YouTube channel, it's really good. He does daily, vlog style videos, but they're usually pretty informative. And he was saying from his experience in retail, with online outlets like this, a lot of times what happens is, and this is kind of what he's speculating, that perhaps they'll have a price like this, right, for $260, but Microsoft doesn't actually plan on selling it for $260. They're just gonna say it's $260, but get it now for $199, and it'll never actually be $260. It'll just always be $199, and it's kind of like a promotional gimmick. Because outside of that, this price is absolutely stupid. You know?
It says here they technically haven't announced it yet either.
Yeah. Well, that's
I don't
the
know if
thing
it's
too.
going to have anything special to it, but at
Well,
face value, assuming it is what it is, just a Xbox One S that's digital only.
mhm.
I mean, why would you not buy the version that comes with a disk drive if it's the same price?
Yeah, and you can play movies on it, or you can play used games. Used games is a big deal. You'll save a ton of money playing used games. And the fact that it only has 1 terabyte uh, on its hard drive for an all digital game console, you have to be very, very casual because, games that you're probably downloading are going to take up a ton of space. I mean, Final Fantasy 15 alone, like I bought the day one edition, and like Jesus Christ, like when I played episode Arden, I had not updated that game in like a long time. It had like 18 gigabytes of downloads, like of updates, right? And that's just updates for like 6 or 7 months. Like it's preposterous. So,
I mean,
like
both
I
Sony and Microsoft expect you to delete and download games all the time with
yeah,
the space. I mean, we'll eventually get to the point where like we'll have like 5 terabytes in the console probably a few years from now, but that's still not a thing. Hard 1 terabyte, especially if you get a solid state drive. 1 terabyte solid state drives are expensive.
yeah.
So at least I put in the console. So it makes sense. It makes sense that they limit it to that much. Um, it which it comes to again with this console. Would it be more worthwhile if it was $200
Yeah,
and they
I
just
think
took the
so.
games out and it's like, well, I don't get a disc drive, but I'm paying $50 less for the console. I only buy digital anyways, so it's no big deal that this drive is there or not. I don't know if it beats the value, or maybe the all digital edition is a very tiny box. I mean, the fact that it's smaller and it fits
Hmm.
in places and
See, if this was
maybe
like
out of sight, it could be appealing in that way.
if this came out to be like an Xbox One X, like the top tier Xbox all digital, like that might be a more reasonable price. I think even then, I like if you're getting the most top tier Xbox, you probably don't want to be limited in any capacity. But yeah, I agree with you. Like I think that a 200 price point would be a lot better for the base model for sure. I mean, I think that I'm trying to think like if like the Switch, Nintendo Switch came out with an all digital Switch model, and it was like I don't know, like 175 or something like that. I could see myself being tempted to get that if I didn't have a Switch because I find myself playing a lot of digital games on that, but I can't see for a home console. I just the draw of not being able to buy used games, the like I don't know. I would need a pretty big discount. So
Yeah, unless the tech specs are like somewhere between an Xbox One S and a um, Xbox One X, somewhere in between, then it would definitely be worth 250. But
yeah.
I mean, as it is right now, it's a little confusing. I want to hear from Microsoft's mouth on how they justify the price.
Sure. Because otherwise it just seems absurd. But anyway, so we're supposed to find out on May 7th. So that's in, about 3 weeks roughly. So I guess we'll know for certain. Maybe it just is a marketing gimmick too. So that might be a thing also. But anyways, moving on. We had a question from Discord that we wanted to address this episode. Go to podcast questions. Again from a second entity. We also have questions from Lane and I think another one from second entity also on Discord, but we're gonna do this one today. It says, who are your most and least favorite party members for every mainline Final Fantasy game and why? Now, this is probably going to take a while, so we might breeze through certain games, but
Let's do this.
let's do it. So, Eric, I do not have a favorite person in Final Fantasy One, a favorite party member, or least favorite in Final Fantasy One, because there's not much of a story in Final Fantasy One. Do you have anything to say about that in regards to party members?
My favorite party member is the warrior.
Oh, okay.
High attack, high defense, upgrades to the knight.
Mm,
Very powerful in-game character. Feels like a definite must to protect the party members. Worst character, the thief.
yeah.
The thief doesn't really do much. You may have like a higher chance of running away, but that's mostly it. Their hit rate is supposed to be higher, but it doesn't really work that well, at least in the NES version. They improved upon it in the other versions, but if we are doing just the NES version, the thing doesn't really become great until it upgrades to the ninja. And the ninja can use, if I recall correctly, can use the Masamune weapon.
Yeah.
If you don't have a warrior in the party. But yes, out of the group, the thief is probably the worst character to pick. Black mage could be debatable because they use the big spells, and the black mage does cost a lot of resources. So you can't use it much. But a red mage can be not only a backup healer, but do black magic also and physical attacks. So all those make up for what the black mage provides in comparison. And of course, everyone wants a white mage in the party. He's a dedicated healer.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I was looking at it from more like a story perspective, but as a gameplay perspective, yeah, man, a warrior all day in Final Fantasy One. I mean, even like the black mage can be really, really cool, but it's a grind fest in the beginning of that game because you can only use magic like 2 or 3 times, and then the black mage is essentially useless until you can charge up those spells again. So all about the black mage, and I think your pick with the thief is spot on too. What about Final Fantasy II? I know for me, Minyu was one of my favorite characters, just because I don't know, he just has a certain style about him that like I really appreciated. But what about you? Was there anybody in Final Fantasy II you felt was particularly appealing?
I'm going to speak purely of the original NES Final Fantasy II because the Dawn of Souls
That's the one I like.
remake brought a lot of justice to the characters who died and brought more story to them, like Joseph, Ricard, Minwu, those characters, and fighting the Emperor in Heaven, or like
that was bad. That was badass.
That was really cool. If I go in the NES version, I thought Layla was a really cool character. Like the cool badass pirate girl type of deal. Minwu was really cool also. I would say I liked Leon the most. I liked the Dark Knight aspect of him. It's pretty obvious that he was the Dark Knight in that game, or the Black Knight or Dark Knight. I forgot how they referenced him. But having his revelation story was really cool. I'd probably pick him. If I had to say the worst, probably Guy, just because the most
that's what I was thinking too.
thing he did in the game was talk to beavers, which very funny, but
that's not but it's not like endearing. It's just kind of dumb.
Yeah, just not very contributing to the story besides being some manpower.
Yeah. So Final Fantasy III, I'm not a big fan of, but what are your thoughts with as far as characters?
I really like the red onion knight, but I don't care for the blue onion.
Yeah, that's agreed.
Let me think through on that. Let me think of some NPC characters.
Well, the thing is, Final Fantasy III was so bare bones from a story perspective because on the NES cartridge they crammed so much content in there that like the story kind of took a backseat for just the sheer amount of gameplay and world traversal that was in that game. So and like the amount of like upgrades and graphics you got in that game was I think pretty astounding. But I mean, for me to pick a character, it's kind of hit or miss. So
I can't really think of one. I like the character that joined you in the tower. I think his name was like Dine.
No, yeah, that's a good pick. Hmm.
He was pretty cool. If I went through the like the I can't think of really anything. Oh my cat. um,
Final,
I think
Final Fantasy.
Arc
Go ahead.
from the DS remake of Final Fantasy III. It's
Hmm.
kind of weird. Like he starts as this kid that like the other kids pick on and such, and he's like just kind of a weak, timid little kid. And somehow by the end of the game, he's like this incredible warrior of light.
Mm.
It's kind of a hard. It's kind of hard for me to buy. I mean, I know these type of stories are a thing, but in the context between him and the other three characters, he's like he's the one I don't believe like being this powerful. If I put him like in a white mage supportive role, I kind of believe it more in the narrative
Yeah.
if he's in that. But I would probably say he would probably be the worst party member.
I think I can agree with that. Now, Final Fantasy IV, I'm all about Cecil. Like, I think that he is one of the coolest main characters in any Final Fantasy game. Just his story, even if it's a total copy of elements of Star Wars, I think it's just really, really cool that his whole redemption story and that the people that he originally attacked are the ones that show him the light and he is reborn again, and like it's just a really cool tale. It gets a little crazy at the end, but I really really dig his character.
Yeah, and I'm trying to stick to party members. I'm trying to keep reminding myself that. But Kane is definitely my favorite.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's pretty that was my close second. Kane is so awesome. When I was a little kid and I first played Final Fantasy IV, like I just thought that dynamic between Cecil and Kane was just like really well done, and just like I was just like, oh man, that's so sick. They used to be friends and now they're fighting each other, and but they're still friends. Like I thought it was really really cool.
Yeah, Cecil's a very close second, but Kane is just iconic. The
Oh,
way his
absolutely.
dragoon style is and everything. I mean that just helps identify what like the elements of Final Fantasy.
Hmm.
The worst, I think
I
people can agree on this. I guess story wise, he's okay. Gameplay wise, Edward is the worst. Uh,
I was gonna say Edward too. Edward is just like I don't know. There's nothing about Edward that like inspires me to like want to be him or wish I was in his role in the game. He's just like I don't like that. Like it's not that I hate him. It's just kind of passive and just kind of there and just kind of there. I don't know. I don't really get much joy about his story sequences. You know.
yeah, story wise, no, I don't think there's anyone particular I don't like. Even Pelham and Forum can have their moments,
Yeah.
and being goofy and the comedic relief. But I guess I would say probably them. But that's in like in the realm of characters I find great and engaging. I think they're just um I guess either them or Edge. Hard
I,
one.
I
I mean, Edge doesn't have much except his own little personal story with Rubicante.
yeah. Dude McGuy says agrees with Kane for Final Fantasy IV best. I always pronounce this name wrong, but Zemus for Final Fantasy IV worst. That was the guy that was kind of pulling the strings on for Golbez. Um, I didn't particularly mind it. I thought that was kind of a cheesy plot twist, if you will, but I didn't particularly mind it too bad. So,
Mm-hmm.
how did you feel about Final Fantasy V?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my favorite character was easily. And look, guys, Final Fantasy V is not my favorite Final Fantasy. I don't hate it. I just think it was a little bit weaker than some of the other ones. But I thought Ferris was a really cool character. The fact that she's like trying to hide her gender and like I've not necessarily hide it, but kind of ashamed of it. And then it comes out, oh, she's actually a female, and people are like all freaked out, like Jesus Christ, like I thought you were a man this whole time. Like, what the hell? I don't know. It's kind of a cool little way to start the game off.
Mine, I would probably say the butts.
Yeah, that's cool too.
Bart's butts is my favorite. He's a little breath of fresh air in a way. I know this is only in the realm between him and Cecil, but he's in. I guess maybe in the context of like all the Final Fantasies right now, he's a like him as a Dane. Kind of like they're like adventurers. They're lighthearted. They're funny. Um, they're engaging in a way that like there's a little comedic relief, but they're like the reliable party member
Mm.
um, in the group. So I always like that. He's not like brooding. He's not sad. I mean, he's sad in like moments that are appropriate for it. But it kind of reminds me of like kind of like a Dragon Quest character in a way that
Yeah, I was.
he's light, cheerful, delightful to be around. But that helps make it more engaging when he is in moments where he um he is in a more broken state or like that, especially like when X Death does the
Mhm.
void to his
Yeah,
hometown, and that gets him riled up and everything. It's like it's an appropriate moment. He just like with a snap of a finger, like just put everyone into the void.
yeah. It's just like, oh my god. I am not surprised that you chose him though, because I got the same sentiment that this kind of feels like it could be a Dragon Quest character, and that the Final Fantasy V in general doesn't necessarily feel like a Dragon Quest to me, but it feels more that route of RPG than it does a traditional Final Fantasy, at least for me. So that makes sense. Um,
Worst,
J-
I would probably. I mean, there's only 5 people to pick from,
mhm,
party member wise. I mean, I guess Krill,
yeah.
or it's a close pick between her and Lena, but
Mm.
um, even Lena has her moments with Ferris, and Krill has her moments after Galeb sacrifices himself. So everyone has their moments, which I like them all in that respect. I mean, I guess maybe Krill because I really miss Galeb, and her sprite animation's kind of weird looking, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't. I always thought she was younger, and I just didn't like. I just don't like the idea of like little kids in these games. But apparently she's a teenager, so I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
But
I think she's like 14, and um,
I always thought she was like 8 for some reason, and
according
it
to our
just
wiki here, she is 14.
yeah, and it bothered me. So
And Bart is
it's probably like the same age.
um I think
Oh no, he's
he's
20.
20. He's 20. So
Okay.
he is significantly older, but Krill looks really young, I think is the bigger problem. And she looks like she's like 8 by the sprite.
Yeah,
But
and I don't know. That just rubs me the wrong way. Not in like a like perverted way or anything. It's just like it just takes me out of the story because like it's just so not realistic. But it's one of the charms of JRPGs, I guess.
the HD version does make her look a little older.
Yeah.
So if you want to give the compliment to those versions in any way, shape, or form, it could be that.
So there's that, I guess. If you want to be positive. Moving on though, the probably a lot of people here, a lot of our listeners' favorite Final Fantasy,
Oh no, there's a lot to pick from here.
Final Fantasy VI. I know my favorite, but I'm interested to see who yours is first. I wonder if we have the same one.
Probably the close pick between Celeste and Terra.
Yeah, I'm all about Celeste just because I think she has a more interesting story. The fact that she starts off as a captured, seems like a captured former general in the Empire, and then she ends up not turning because she's a bad person, but she like turns on the party because it's the only person she has. Her, I think it's her. I can't remember her uncle, or some kind of family relation, right? Like he works for the Empire, and he doesn't. She doesn't want to lose him, and after turning on him, she ends up losing him anyways, and like the whole world's gone to astray and everything like that. And the way she recoups from that, like I think it was a really really awesome story sequence for that character, and the fact that she becomes the main character basically in the second half of the game. And I apologize if I'm spoiling Final Fantasy VI, guys, but
You
I
had like nearly 25 years.
Yeah, so I think she's a super awesome character.
I can agree to that. I mean, if you let a certain someone die uh, right when their world of ruin starts, like I
Hmm.
actually like that scene more than saving him. I mean, it's just really
Me too.
sad and emotional seeing her. She believes that she's the last person in the world, just after just everything that happened, and she decides to throw herself off a cliff, just letting her be the end of it all. Then she finds out later that she's not the end of it all. But uh,
And she sees what she thinks is Locke's little ribbon. I like that too because like the idea is like, hey, like I I turned on all my friends because I care about this person, and then once I wake up from my coma, okay, I saved him, but he ends up dying too. Like it's like the final nail in the coffin where you could just understand she's just like, I gave up everything for nothing. It was a really really good moment.
worst character wise, I mean, I guess
Gal.
in a literal sense, Go.
Mm,
He has. I mean, at least Omaro has a relation to Mog that
mm-hmm.
brings like some little story to him. Go is just a character you find. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the character Go, um, but story wise, he doesn't. He's nothing. I mean, he's fascinating in a Final Fantasy universe type of
Hmm.
aspect, but in FF6, you just find him and he says, "I'll join you." That's it. He doesn't have
Yeah.
their story relevancy.
Um. Yeah, I guess there's like a difference for me between a character that doesn't really do anything in the story and a character that like I just dislike the fact that when they talk or like have any involvement in the story. But that's a very compelling case for Gogo. I mean, I think honestly like I kind of tie between Mog and Gao. I mean, Gao is just a little ridiculous. I don't. I think the whole deal on the Velt is really ridiculous, and like Mog also just seems really out of place. Like his character profile looks really strange in the menu, and like I just don't enjoy using him. And I think his place in the story is just really out of place, even for a Final Fantasy game. But I don't know. I could see what you're saying too.
Yeah,
Uh,
but it's really hard to say. Like every character is enjoyable in their own way. I could criticize some, but I don't think there's a character I particularly hate. I mean, I think there are some of the scenes with Gao are a little annoying, so I could probably contest that far. If we're going like with story relevancy,
mhm.
I would probably pick Gao also.
Yeah. Let's see in the comments we have Dude McGuy says Celeste best for Final Fantasy VI. Bob Phoenix says Final Fantasy VI pretty much all the characters are great. I can't even think of one I dislike. Dude McGuy says Shadow is also great. Dude McGuy Gogo is just there, probably the worst character story wise. Cyan gets the edge for being the Lemmy from Motorhead. That's what Bob Phoenix said. He was kind of laughing. So yeah, it seems like everyone's on point with us for the most part. Final Fantasy VII. Hmm.
Mm, best
Hmm.
character.
This is gonna,
Count Sephiroth because he was technically a party member.
you did play as him in the game, like for various parts of the game. So I would consider it.
Then I'm going to use that because what I love about when he's temporarily in the party, the gameplay itself sets up a narrative for him.
Yeah.
He sets up it shows how powerful he is, which makes it even more intimidating when you see him not in the flashback, but you see him like him slash Genova type of deal. So when you
Hmm.
see him, you're intimidated because you've seen through the gameplay and both the gameplay and the story that he is powerful. He is more powerful than anyone in your party right now.
Yeah. The game really does a good job of showing you that over and over again. I mean, like you said, they show you that flashback where you're playing as Cloud and like the dragon enemy just like kills Cloud in like one hit, and then Sephiroth just goes out there and like does like 4,000 damage and just like annihilates the dragon in one hit, and it's just like, yeah, easy day. And you know, you see all sorts of scenes like we were talking about earlier with like the giant snake creature. You run into that, the thing you could not beat, the thing that like stopped you from getting across the river. You had to get a chocobo across because, you know, this thing was so strong, and you finally get across and you see another one of these things, and like Sephiroth just like impaled it on the top of a tree. Like, dude, they just like set the tone that like Sephiroth is a beast. Like, I totally get it. I don't know, man. It's gonna sound corny, but I think I really like Cloud. I like him as a character. Like, as
He's a great main character.
I mean, as crappy or as of a pick as some people might feel that it is, I just love the story. Like, you know, he has so much shame, and he doesn't even want to admit to like his own friends when he goes back to his town that like he didn't make it in Soldier, so he hides from everyone. And like he ends up inventing this whole story because of everything he went through in his head. But the whole thing is just like trying to prop himself up. Like, yeah, I was in Soldier, and like he, you know, and he didn't want to face the fact that he didn't make it. Like there wasn't enough, and like he was so ashamed of that, and that he actually buried this memory deep in his head of like what happened to his hometown when he was there. And then once him and Tifa like put all the pieces back together, and they realize what actually happened that day, and like the fact that he did hide and that he was ashamed, but like what actually happened in the reactor, like it was like more amazing than like the whole story he concocted in his head, right? The fact that like he was not good enough to make it in Soldier, that he was just some regular Shinra soldier, one of the guys in the blue suits. And, you know, he was too weak to be in Soldier, but like still, like after being like attacked, he had enough adrenaline in him because of the amount of anger he felt, that he was able to force Sephiroth over the edge and like basically, I mean, I know it's debatable whether he killed him, but I mean, in that instance, he got the higher ground against this one of the greatest warriors in the land. Like that was like such a really cool moment to for him to realize, like, okay, I didn't make it in Soldier, but like I still defended my town the best I could. You know, I really like that about his character. I don't really like what they did in like all the other games with that character. The fact that he's like constantly moping and, you know, he's always sad. But I liked what they did in Final Fantasy VII, so he's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud's a great pick for that. Also, I mean, like other characters are great. Like I like Barrett's backstory and everything,
Mm-hmm.
like that. I mean, of course, everyone loves Eris, and
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really a hateful character. The character that hates this group. If I had to pick a word, however,
I know one. Yeah.
I mean. It's a tough pick between Yuffie or Kate Sith.
Kate Sith all day.
I mean, I could say Kate Sith easily, but even Kate Sith has this moment. Like I played through FF7 recently, so there's a part near the end of the game where him and Barrett are having an argument about someone brings up like the reactor. Like in the beginning of the game, you blow up one of the reactors. And Kate Sith doesn't bring up till the very end. He's like, you know, Barrett, I've actually been wanting to bring this up to you. Like he brought up a counter argument that like Barrett killed a bunch of people in that reactor, and then Barrett's like, well, it's what you had to do to save the planet, few lives, and like Kate Sith reacts back to him and like in a masterful manner. He's like, well, that was like a little bit to you, but those people who died there, that was everything to the people who lost their friends and family that day. So it's like you're a hypocrite, big time. And like Barrett just got like completely owned and thrown like into his place. And even later, Barrett admits that what he did was not the right thing. So yeah. Kate Sith even has his moment. Now, in terms of like enjoyment throughout the story, probably lean a little more towards him, but it's a close tie between him and Yuffie.
Yeah, I think that what you bring up is the one saving grace about Kate Sith, because I mean, that he was able to be there and provide that context for Barrett's character growth. But like him as a character himself, there's not much there. Like almost every scene with Kate Sith just drives me nuts, except a handful of scenes. I mean, the fact that like it's like some guy is remote controlling Kate Sith with a laptop, like 1,000 miles away, 24/7, is preposterous. I'm thinking of the scene where Kate Sith abducts Marlene, right, and like and hands her off to Shinra, and then like he tells Barrett like, oh, like if you want to see Marlene again, like we have to act like nothing happened. And then like after we get Marlene back, like there's just like nothing like really happens to Kate Sith or anything, except like I feel like, dude, you just abducted somebody's daughter, like that, like if that was me, like, and you did that to my daughter. I don't have a daughter, but if I did have a daughter, like I would be freaking pissed off, like. And I guess that's not really criticism of Kate Sith as much as is the surrounding characters, but I don't know. I feel like that game would have been better without that character. But you've made a very good case for why Kate Sith needs to be in the game. So,
Dude, my guy brings up another good point too about him. He says Kate Sith is bad, but once you understand the man behind the mask, he's better. Once you know in the context that he's Reeve,
that made it far worse for me.
It does make it better for me, but it made me question. I actually brought it up with people the other day. Is that like why is Reeve so different? Like even after he gets, people find out, the crew finds out who he is. I understand putting up a facade to not give away your, like give away who you are, but like the personality of Kate Sith and Reeve have like don't really mesh together. So there's a weird explanation, and there's not like 100% explanation
That's
of
a good
why
point.
that is, or even
Yeah.
in the compilations or whatnot. It's just how it is. But I think that's like another reason why Kate sits it probably a little more on the worst side
Mm-hmm.
because there is that weird miscommunication there. I think someone who's really into FF7 could maybe give like a good
Explanation.
a good enough explanation, but the stuff I've read through, it's not 100% there. I kind of get it, but at the same time, I kind of don't.
Well, yeah, I will say that I like Reeves better than Kate Sith, even though they're the same person. But like you bring up, they are starkly different. But I just always had a problem with the fact that he was like somehow monitoring this doll 24/7, and like was he like remote controlling him like 24/7 at all times? What if he had to use the restroom? Like, did Kate Sith stop like moving? Like, I don't know. And I guess like you could explain away all these details, but just like the whole concept of it was just really dumb to me. But I did like Reese a lot better than I did the person he was trying to be, anyways. So I don't know. We'll have to see how the remake does with that character. What did you think about Final Fantasy VIII? Who's your favorite character and least favorite character?
Favorite would probably, I think, the person who had like the most story to him was probably Squall. And
yeah,
I guess Squall because I like his little no.
I was gonna say Laguna, but
I'm forgetting a completely different crew. I am still gonna say Laguna.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm saying the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's just an enjoyable character, just like his scene of trying to impress Julia, or doing that movie shot fighting a dragon. It turned out being an actual dragon. And then he his time with Rain and Alone when Alone was a child, and getting to know Rain. I mean, that was really nice. It makes me think. I really wish there was a dedicated RPG to Laguna.
Yeah, like I'm like, this is like the best part of Final Fantasy VIII is like when he's on the screen. I mean, he's just such a badass, and like the every time he's on the screen, you just know there's some crazy sequence of events that's about to happen. It's either gonna just be uber cool in style, or it's just gonna make you laugh, like you said when he goes to talk to Julia and his leg starts cramping up, or it ends up being a real dragon. I mean, he's just a really awesome character that I just wanted to know more about. I mean, if I had to pick somebody from the main cast, I mean, I think clearly Squall, because that game really focused a lot on Squall, and really had everybody else's role in the party kind of support that character for the most part. I think Irvine had a little bit of character development too that was kind of nice, but um, hmm, least favorite character.
Cypher. He was temporarily in the party. I count it.
Okay, I guess we can count that.
My
I'm trying.
God, talk about like a person just no one likes. Just like on every level. Like he thinks he's cool, no one thinks he's cool. He thinks he's strong, but he's like the easiest boss fight, and every time you encounter him, he's overly dependent on someone liking him. And he doesn't even get a resolution at the end. It's you fight. You have the third fight with him at the end of disc 3, and you don't really see him again. But like at the end, Balamgarn's flying over, and him and Rain and Raijin and Fujin are just having fun fishing, and he's all like, "Yeah, mm-hmm, yeah, it's the ending. I learned something." It's like you didn't learn a damn thing. You should be like in
Yeah.
prison right now.
Yeah, you really did not assist in any way. You actually made it much worse. Yeah, I mean, I could see the case being made for him. I wasn't a big fan of a Cipher, but I think that I really did not like Selfie as much as that might irritate some people. But I just felt like her character was just too, like, I don't know, weak to be in that party. It just didn't make sense that she was supposed to be in the military. The fact that her, dress was so short, like as a little kid, I liked that, but in context of the story, it just irritated me that she was in the party. And I don't know. I mean, she had her moments, but I can definitely see what you're saying about Cypher. What's that?
He likes trains.
Yeah. So there's that.
I guess Zell didn't have much relevancy story-wise too much either. He had some moments here and there, but
he starred in a Mentos commercial.
But he was like he was mostly there along for the ride in a way. Quistis is like has like a level obligation as like I mean they all have a level of obligation for being seed members.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like the people that hold like the strongest story wise are like Squall, Renoa, Laguna, some other NPC characters also. It kind of feels like in the way that the others are there along for a ride. They have their purpose and like moments. Like even Irvine has like he shows up like being this super cool gunslinger sniper type character, but when but he's actually there to shoot the sorceress. Like he just like
he can't do it. And once it's kind of cool that like when you replay the game you've actually played the full thing, you realize the reason, like he says like, oh, I just couldn't pull the trigger. Like he was too much of a coward to pull the trigger and kill somebody, but it really comes down to like he couldn't shoot the sorceress because of the orphanage scene, right? He thought, it just looks like his mom who raised him, because he was the only one that remembered. So it was just too hard on him, which kind of gives some greater context to that scene. But I don't know, that whole sequence of events was really, really cool with Squall just saying, okay, whatever, I'll do it. And he just jumps over the edge and takes that car and it drives off. That was a really cool cutscene. So
yeah. Oh, too bad it didn't end too well for him.
Yeah, that may have been the end of actual events in Final Fantasy VIII, depending on how you feel about fan theories. But we'll have to
deny it. Unfortunately, I love the fan theory. It's a well thought out fan theory, and in a way, it's canon in my head.
Yeah,
but it's they technically denied it.
Yeah, well, Katase. Okay, so the theory essentially is that at one point something like Squall gets impaled by like a ice sickle or whatever, and the theory is that everything after that was just like Squall and like the afterlife or like some like feverish death that's going on in his mind, and this didn't actually happen because the game's plot gets pretty crazy after that. So and it makes so much sense, but Katase said that didn't happen. But again, Katase said that Shinra and Final Fantasy X or X-2 was like related to the Shinra and Final Fantasy VII, and he confirmed that. So I don't care what that guy says. Like
Mm.
he he says some crazy stuff. So moving on, Final Fantasy IX though.
Come on,
My favorite Final Fantasy.
Phoebe.
Who?
Who's
Yeah.
your favorite, man? Phoebe.
I'm gonna say Beatrix because we got to play with her.
Yeah. I mean, I love Beatrix too. Great character. Also,
Yeah.
she's like the ideal like female paladin
Well,
knight
I just
character. Her and Agrias from Final Fantasy Tactics, but a little more her.
yeah, I just feel like they did such a good job with her character development. Setting the stage that she's loyal to the crown or whatever. But throughout the game, she keeps questioning gradually, like, what is the queen doing? Would I be doing this? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Who am I? Am I really on the right side? And she keeps like leaving these little breadcrumbs that she's getting ready to turn, but you don't ever know when it's going to happen until that final moment where she does turn. And it's just like there could have been no better point in this story for you to turn sides than now. And you see her and Steiner and Freya, like basically like just get out of here. We'll last as long as we can. Like it's just a really really good moment. So I really really appreciated that character and that whole sequence of events.
Yeah, I mean, I like Vivi so much because
Vivi is a great character too.
I mean, he's definitely the most compelling character in there. He's questioning his life and everything, and he learns so much through the thing. And it's so ridiculously sad through the credits what you find
Mm,
out about him. I mean, that hits you like a ton of bricks.
yeah, and it gets me when people say like, "Oh, the ending of Final Fantasy IX is too happy." I'm like, "Well, it was kind of like really depressing too." So,
Yeah, it was a mixed bag of emotions. That ending, it's a beautiful ending. I love it.
oh
It's like the ideal Disney-esque level ending. That
yeah, but they like killed it. It was like Sakaguchi and like the 8 Mile mic drop. Like it was just like, okay, I'm done. That's how you do it. BioPhoenix says Vivi, Steiner, and Freya, but the others are still real good too. Yeah.
worst for me. This is not a hard one. Aiko.
Um. Yeah.
Quina is what Quina is.
I was gonna say Amaranth or however you say his name. Um. But I can see. I always hate little kid characters, but Aiko ended up winning me over in the end, just because I felt like she added so much to the story with her jealousy over Garnet or Dagger, and like the fact that she like was writing that love letter and she kept like she dropped it and like everyone else kept finding it, and she ended up like becoming or joining the Limblum and the King Sid and everything like that and his family. Like I really liked her role in the story, even though I hated the fact that she was like 4 years old. I thought that was really dumb. But Amaranth, like he adds very little to the story, and I feel like his whole character development or his character arc doesn't really go anywhere. He's kind of a cool character, but he just like his whole concept is like oh Zidane, like he like robbed from me like one day, and like but he still is somehow selfless. I'm gonna
America,
follow him. Like I
America
don't get it.
is more like a plot device for Zidane because it helps the way Amaranth acts. Like Zidane kind of throws stuff back at him to make him think about it. When Zidane's giving like little life lessons to him and everything.
Hmm.
So it kind of comes around, and like he does the same. Like Zidane does the same thing for Vivi, like kind of giving like life lessons on what you should do, and be all great, cheerful, have a good time type of deal.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the point where Zidane himself has to face these type of things, Hera, well, after he finds out he's a genome and everything, or he was supposed to be like the angel of death, but he starts realizing that or he's being tested like, are you a hypocrite? And he is being a little hypocritical at the beginning,
Hmm.
but when he has like characters like Bibi and Amerit to remind him of the stuff he taught, or like even Amerit goes as far as to call him a hypocrite also, for acting the way he is right now. He's like, you're telling and teaching me all these things. Now look at you. It's like you're pathetic.
Yeah, and it kind of contributes to dragging the name back to his joyful hero self. Yeah, he has a role to play in the game, so I can appreciate his game. I mean, look, Final Fantasy IX is my favorite Final Fantasy. I think it's almost a masterpiece. If you take besides a few small criticisms, I mean it's a damn good game on the PlayStation. So
Yeah,
it,
it's a great cast of characters, but it's just like in the realm of characters I like.
yeah. Final Fantasy X. This one's hard for me because I have
For me,
I have a couple of characters that I would want to put as my favorite, but it's I think I can narrow it down to either Orin or Waka. I think Orin was like my all time favorite just because he was, even as a kid, like I thought he was just such a cool character. Like the fact that he only uses one arm, but like he's still so powerful, and he seems to know all these secrets that he's alluding to, and he carries around a bottle of booze or rum that like powers him up. Like he's just a very cool character. When you learn his backstory and the fact that he used to be all uptight before and like very religious before he became so cynical, it's just so moving. But I don't know. Like part of me wants to choose Waka too because as goofy as that character is, like I just really appreciate the fact that like he basically was a racist, and like the way they presented it, like he's still a likable character, but once he realized that Riku is Al Bhed, Yuna's Al Bhed, like it's not Al Bhed people I'm mad at, it's the fact that my brother died, and the fact that like when Riku steals Yuna away and like steals all these other sorcerer summoners away, and everyone's pissed at Riku, it's Waka is the one that first like says, no, I understand why you did it. Like that was the moment he starts to turn and say, okay, like maybe not all bad or bad. Like he's the one that understands, like, okay, you actually care for Yuna, you were trying to protect her and make sure that she's safe. Like I get it. Like, and I can kind of appreciate that, but I think Orange just a badass. Like he's just I don't know, it's hard to get over that. But how did you feel about the game?
well, ditto about Arn. I mean,
Yeah.
absolute badass, and just that ending scene where he finally goes to the far plane.
Yeah.
I mean, just and with his theme in the back,
That
Arn's
was that was cool.
my favorite pieces in Final Fantasy. I
Yeah.
love that theme so much. I can listen to it all day. Um,
I love when he's like about to leave and like everyone's freaking out that Orin's leaving, and then at the last moment, like Orin just looks over at Titus and just taps on his chest and says, "I'll see you in a little bit," and then like Orin just leaves, and everyone's like, "What?" Like, and it's just like, dude, you just like riled everybody up needlessly, and it was awesome.
yeah, and the way he acts in the story and everything up until the very end, like he had a plan all along. Like he never intended to sacrifice Yuna. Like he had a plan like to the end to
Hmm.
try to get rid of sin for good and everything. Just from everything he's learned from after dying, going to the dreams, Anakin. Um, uh, so that's and just I don't know even what to say. Everything about him is just so awesome. Even to the when you see him in the past, how he interacts with Jet and
Hmm.
Nebraska, like he's like the straight one. Uh, uh, Jack does the more loose cannon, and like Braska is like more the voice of reason. These
Hmm.
type of things. So it works out so well with one another. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's definitely
Well,
best for me.
I think I guess I don't want to gush about him more, but I think like what's especially cool about him is he adds so much like replay value to the game because when you replay it, it's like you can kind of like look at all these interactions he has with characters, and you know everything Orin knows now, and like you can see like all the sly little comments he makes about the structure of the game and the structure of the world. So it's really cool. Who do you dislike the most?
Mm, not anyone in
s-
particular I dislike, but Kamari doesn't really hold a strong relevancy in the story.
ah
He's kind of there, and like even his gameplay is like that too. It's just kind of there. Um,
I
he
you
has
know Go
moments
ahead.
where
Yeah.
he's with Byron and Yankee and
Hmm.
proving himself or being like a guardian to Yuna. But besides that, he doesn't have any strong emotional scenes. Like even Riku.
Yeah.
Who's kind of like a tag along, has relevancy to the story. Like her father is Sid, and she's the Albed, and she is like, um, she's the conflict with Waka, who Waka has, uh, who's prejudiced against the Albed. Uh,
Hmm.
and he learned in him with his interaction with Riku, and learning the truth of Yevon is like, kind of made her essential in her own way, looking at things from the Albed perspective. So I think like a character like her is like welcomed in that
Yeah, I
setup.
yeah, I could understand if somebody were to pick her as their least favorite just because she is kind of silly. Uh and it's kind of creepy that she's kind of there for sex appeal, but she's like 15. But I mean, her role in the story I think is really important. I can see what you're saying too about Kamari. It's just I don't know. He has that one scene early on in the game where he first meets, or you as the player first meet some of his uh, Ronso, whatever tribe people or whatever, and they're making fun of of Kamari because he has a broken horn and he's small. And they keep like mocking him, and you're just sitting there like, why are you being such an asshole to Kamari? He's a good guy. And then like the prompt just comes up and it says punch him, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna punch him.
Hornless, hornless.
I was just like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to do. But outside of that, like Kamari doesn't really add much. I see Mike said best FF10 character is clearly Brother. Obviously, he's joking, but Brother is such a ridiculous character.
That's not the rules.
He's pretty ridiculous, though.
I mean, he only wants to get with his cousin. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awkward. Yeah. Hey, Final Fantasy X too. Brother trying to get together with Yuna or impress her and flirt with her all the time. Brother and Riku are brother and sister, which makes them cousins with Yuna.
Yeah.
So that's a little weird, especially when Yuna already has like a love for Titus. He's like, "Have you forgotten about Titus yet?"
He's like, he's not really a real person.
Yeah, he's technically not real.
But well, Brother is like he embodies my entire feelings about Final Fantasy X-2. Like, look at Brother in Final Fantasy X, he's a little ridiculous, but he's kind of tame. And then you look at Brother in X-2, and you're like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is obnoxious. But yeah.
Final Fantasy XI. You want me to handle this?
Yeah, go ahead, brother, because Final Fantasy XI's not my cup of tea. I haven't given it too much time.
So. Well, since the Trust Party system came out, you can really use most of the NPCs in the game. So obviously, the favorite's got to be Shantoto. The Taru. Well, she's the representative, the main representative of 11 in the city. So you might know her through that. But she is the most like. It's really hard to explain. She's like a comical anti-hero. She may be working with you sometimes or maybe working against you sometimes, but like she's like a really powerful mage that like no one wants to mess with. Like like when in a world that like you're taken out of that world like for just for a few moments for like a comedic relief, all powerful character that no one will mess with, but not like really brought in the story. Like she's kind of like that. She has her story relevancy moments, but she is such a blast. Like every time you interact with her, like
Yeah.
she's like um what's the best word to use? Like he's very conniving, I think. Like
adds a lot of tension to scenes.
Yeah, she's not a bad guy, but she's not really like the good guy character either. I mean, I can give shout outs to characters like Prish and Zed. Zed has a really cool story. He's a Dark Knight that used to be part of the Bastok elite forces. But he left to be a Dark Knight. If you do his quest, that's really that's a nice story. I'm really banking on my memory here because it's been since like the early 2000s I played these.
I suspect that not many people are going to be familiar with 11 extensively, more so now. But it was very popular.
The worst character, I forgot his name. It's a really long, complicated name. That's why I've forgotten it. I'll see if I can figure it out real quick. Chains of Promathia characters. Um, characters. Okay, here it is. Nagmolda.
I, I
Nagmola.
don't I don't even like that name.
He's a character that constantly joins you and does like the help to research on uh, like Promathia and Lumeria and those Alertians and stuff like that. And all the time, it's like we know he's evil. The people around you know he has bad, evil intentions, but they still like let him hang around and everything. Like it's like that South Park episode where they're going to Walmart and like they know the whole time Cartman's trying to sabotage like everything on the way. They're like, "We know you slashed the tires." He's like, "No, I didn't." He's like, "Yes, you did. We saw you do it." And it's like the same thing. He keeps doing things that work against like the main party members. They're like, "Why are you still like treating him like a comrade and like he's around?" Eventually, they get fed up with him and like he's out of the story. You have the boss fight with him and everything
I,
before to Promathia, but
just looking at this guy's character model, I feel like he looks like somebody. I feel like he made an appearance in Organization 13 in Kingdom Hearts. Like he just, I don't know. He just kind of like looks like he has a like black robe look, and he looks like he's got some kind of like eye deal going on. I don't know, but I've never played 11 that extensively, so
yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy 11. You, it has great stories in it. It's just
mhm.
gated by awful gated content. Like there, you have to jump through bells, whistles, and hoops at a like on an extremely grindy level to get this content, which makes me hope that um, the like the mobile version or the Grand Masters version they have on mobile right now would come
Yeah.
over here to the West. Now,
Hmm.
now no one has the mobile version. We haven't even seen the mobile version besides screenshots, but hopefully those will give the story that's great story
Okay.
to people
Well,
who just can't endure those type of conditions to play Final Fantasy.
yeah, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Like one day, like I can just play like a Final Fantasy 11 Lite edition. You know, maybe I could just kind of like the story version. I don't want to do a lot of the nonsense that's involved with 11. You know, and that'd be, I think, a nice way for people like me to play, where it's like, I didn't really touch it when the game came out, and now going back now, it looks kind of archaic and just like really hard for me to deal with. So, I don't know, and it's not necessarily that I can't deal with archaic features because I'll play Nintendo RPGs, and those are like as archaic as it can get. I mean, unless you go further back, you know, with like text-based games and such like that. But you know, regardless, Nintendo RPGs can be very, very not accommodating to quality of life features. You know, Final Fantasy One, the fact that like when you choose a character, like if that character, an enemy's dead, you know, by the time it comes down to their turn, they'll just attack open air. Like, well, what? Why? You know, but like the thing is, like the fact that like it's starting to get age. It's starting to show its age when you play the game, and then on top of that, the fact that like I start thinking about how long it's going to take me to beat Final Fantasy 11. Like, it's just like, dude, I'm in my 30s now. Like, I don't have that kind of time. So I
If you try to complete all the story content available in 11, was a
uh
lot of that they very rarely nerfed any requirements. Like they nerfed level caps that were in Chains of Promathia. So you can do it at any level you want instead of the level
mhm.
that they intended. But um, if you try to complete everything in that game, you are easily spending hundreds of hours to get it done.
Yeah, and I think I would rather just play other games.
Yeah, I mean, you have to dedicate yourself to it. It's not something you just casually play.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's.
just hope that these other versions come out one day if you're really not into it. I mean,
Mhm.
I still say it's worth your time to invest into it, but if you are not that type of person, then don't try.
Well, that
If
thing
you're not
that sounds
willing
like
to
me.
endure the grind. and
Yeah.
the gated content. You don't try it.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to put a pin in it there and move to Final Fantasy 12.
It's 12.
Mm. Final Fantasy 12 has its critics, but I love Final Fantasy 12 as much as I criticize it. But I just love this game. It's one of the few games that I can replay several times, and I just get so much enjoyment out of the game. Um, I
I'm debating on getting it on the Switch when it comes out, the physical.
I'm gonna get it on the Switch. I know I'm gonna get it on the Switch. And I'm gonna complain that it doesn't have the original battle setup, that it's the the easy version of Final Fantasy 12. I'm still gonna get it, and then I'm gonna complain about that afterwards. But I still enjoy Final Fantasy 12 despite that. But I think to me, like, it's hands down. I don't want to say hands down, but I really like Balthier a lot. He's a really cool character.
We all love Altair. He's my favorite too.
Yeah, he's I don't know, man. Like, there's something about his design and just like the way he carries himself, and the fact that like he has an airship, and he's just so much mystery behind him. Like, he's just a very cool character, and there's some really neat lines if you go to replay Final Fantasy 12 that Balthier kind of leaks out that like kind of like indicate who his real identity is, at least. Like, he may be from royalty, I guess you could say. For example, in the beginning of the game, when he first runs into Ash, and she's still going under the term or the name Amalia, he says, "What is such a leading member of the insurgency doing down in the sewers?" And Ash immediately responds, "You mean the resistance?" Like, right in that moment, like, if you look at that, like, clearly, like, you can tell like how Balthier grew up. Like, this is how he views Ravenaster, that like her place in this world is she's an insurgent, she's not supposed to be there. And you can see from her perspective, like, no, like, we're resisting you, like, and like that's like so obvious. And there's so many like little lines like that that kind of clue into like who Balthier is. So I really like the character. He's very interesting.
He's cool. He's suave. He's the Han Solo of that game. I mean, he's the guy that everyone wants to be. I mean, he's always got something witty to say, or something clever, and it doesn't feel forced. I mean, it's just natural. It seems
Mhm.
like just natural to that type of character. Um, and he's my inspiration to, like, him and Mustadio from Tactics are like my inspiration to be a machinist in FF14. I just love that style. Like, gun users in Final Fantasy are just always so cool.
Yeah. Well, and I hate the fact that I think in the Zodiac age, you would think that Balthier would be a machinist, but apparently the job they gave him is something else. Like, he's not best suited for machinist, which I just gives me one extra little thing to like complain about the Zodiac version.
Another job in a game that uses a gun in 12 in the Zodiac.
Well, like, even though his character uses a gun, like, hold on, let me look this up because this is going to bother me. But even though his character uses a gun, like, I guess like the way the stats are built, like, he's not most ideal. Okay, best job for Balthier, and it like really throws me off because that just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so let's go. I got this up. Let's go to Balthier. Best jobs for. So it says he makes for a great knight, or a red battle mage, or a foe breaker. And it says, despite being depicted with a gun and the most art, we don't really feel that Balthier is much of a fit for machinists. I've seen that in a couple different places, so it doesn't really make sense because he that's clearly what he's supposed to be. But I usually just have him be a machinist anyways, because for lore purposes, it just makes sense. And it's not like
saying how they make the most efficient character with him with his stats and everything.
Well, that's kind of what I'm going off of.
Like what his best job is narrative wise.
Well, yeah, narratively speaking, like, I think clearly machinist.
Yeah.
But the only other character I think I really like in that game is probably Bosch. Bosch is a really cool character also. Clearly, he's got a lot of cool backstory and everything like that. But who's a contender for worst character in Final Fantasy?
Well, I don't
12?
hate any of the characters though, but I would say probably Penelo, because she jumps off, like, her story ends and jumps off like even further, like even sooner than Vaughn's does.
Yeah.
Because I like Vaughn and Pinello. The problem is just their story just ends right there, and they don't hold much stronger story relevancy. Like they're great characters. I like both of them just fine. It's just we've discussed it before. They're just relevancy to the plot isn't
Hmm.
strong anymore after the whole group is brought together.
Yeah, and like I think that you can make a case for Vaughn because a his brother died in the war. You know, if you ran into like the princess of the city that was taken over that changed your life, and she was trying to like get her city back, and all you ever wanted to be was a sky pirate, and you run into the most famous sky pirate of all time, Balthier. Like, why would you not join the princess of your city, your kingdom, and like the famous sky pirate, and you want to ride on an airship, and now you get to be on an airship and hunt treasure just like you've always dreamed. Like clearly this is like something you would follow along with. Totally get why Vaughn does that. I don't think it makes sense why they kept Vaughn on the party. But the fact that Penelo's there just because she cares about Vaughn, like I guess, but like I really wish they did more with Penelo, you know? Like, but I totally agree. She doesn't really have a strong story purpose for being in the game.
Yeah.
But at least they don't force scenes in with her. You know, it's not like they're just forcing Penelo scenes in constantly. So, um, Final Fantasy 13.
Mm, mm. Probably Saz.
Yeah, he's 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 the best character in Final Fantasy 13. I think I saw a video from Lore Runner who was talking about this, and he brought up a good point. He said that Saz is just like an ordinarily okay Final Fantasy character, but in Final Fantasy 13, because all the other characters were just like terrible, like Saz just gets inflated to being like an amazing Final Fantasy character. But like if you're to throw his character into like the cast of like Final Fantasy 9 or like 7, he would just be like an ordinary character, not a bad character, just like ordinary. But I thought that was kind of a funny analysis.
Which just goes
Uh,
straight to the worst character.
yeah, let's do it.
You know who it is.
Lightning, Fang, Vanille,
Nope.
Hope. Yeah,
You know who it is.
yeah, Hope.
Our good old buddy. No. No.
I was gonna say Hope. Are you? Are you?
No. By far. No.
No. I thought you were entirely talking about Hope.
No.
But yes, Snow is bad
I
too.
can kind of understand Hope. How he acts is a little irrational sometimes, but he's a teenager. Teenagers are irrational and stupid.
Mm.
Watch this, but um, but he kind of like he acts a little irrational because if you like lost your mother, I mean, it kind of makes sense in that context. Snow the whole time is preaching about being a hero, and it's just annoying. He just the way he acts and everything like that. It's I know he kind of brings a little revelation about himself around it,
Mm-hmm.
but some of the stuff he says in the story on the way there is just so absolutely cringeworthy that not even Troy Baker, who's an amazing voice actor, can
Mm-hmm.
make it sound good.
I think that Snow really annoys me in the first couple hours of the game, but after that, he kind of mellows out a little bit, and I appreciate him more. I can tolerate him, and I actually kind of like him by the end of the game. Whereas Hope, like whether it's the beginning of the game, the middle of the game, or the end of the game, he just continuously drives me nuts the entire game. So I think that's the determining factor for me. So, and even in the other games, he drives me nuts. Like I take that back. Old Hope and Final Fantasy 13-2. I actually liked Adult Hope a lot better than Young Hope, but um, Lightning Returns Hope was ridiculous. So,
No, you may take the reins for 14.
yeah, we can.
Okay. So
Go ahead.
I'm trying to think of characters who temporarily join your party in an NPC type of fashion. Because technically no characters are like officially in your party, except you and the other online members. So characters who've joined in instances, I would say, I'll leave it to that. And Estinian, by far, he's like him and Kane are like the two coolest dragoons to ever exist in media. I mean, if you just look up his pictures and everything, he's ridiculously badass looking. His story is great. He has a story arc in the level 50 Dragon Quest and he's a major character in the Heavensward story, the whole expansion. And his story is pretty much him trying to hunt the dragons and Nidhogg, who is the Nidhogg is like the one leading the dragons to try to destroy Ishgard, and he is the Azure Dragoon, and his role as the Azure Dragoon is to destroy monsters like Nidhogg and keep him in the area where he is supposed to be. But in the but the caveat to it is that he has a bit of Nidhogg blood in him. So there's a lot of him struggling to fight against Nidhogg and his influence and his will. And I don't want to spoil it because I really want people to play the story. But like it gets to it gets to a pretty extreme point and everything in a couple of scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
But Estinian is a very compelling character, like especially when he's interacting with Yasiel and Alpanad and your character in it.
It's got a really cool character design. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, I think 14 is it's another daunting task, but I think it's a little bit easier to get into, obviously, than 11. So
nowhere near as daunting though. You can still go about it at your own pace. FF11, a lot is expected out of you. 14 is still like you can play it like a normal game. There are some moments where you have to wait in a duty finder, but it's nothing extreme. But worst character, Ophelia doesn't really in anything because she doesn't do anything. Maybe Urianger. He's not a bad character at all. It's just that he speaks very poetically to the point that you don't really understand him most of the time. And it's weird getting an emotional response out of him because of his poetic nature. Like when a certain character dies in the story that he had a attachment to, he feels a lot of remorse for it, but you have a hard time getting it out of him because just because of the way his personality is. I guess that may be a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, but I don't think it really hit home all the way for me in that regard.
Okay.
But that's as much I'll say about that. Because most people don't know what I'm talking about. So, but let's just go to our last one.
All right. So we got Final Fantasy 15. I don't know. I think that because I played episode Arden, I would have to say Arden. But if we're going to say a main game, I don't know. It's pretty hard for me. I guess I'd have to pick Ignis. Ignis is actually, the base model of the game without all the extra crap in it. He has the best story development, I think, with his, disability and the fact that like he doubts himself and he struggles and then he ends up finding his way and he ends up being the one that helps the crew through an obstacle shortly after his injury. I really like the way they did that. Mike clearly puts my second favorite character in Final Fantasy 15, probably a close contender of all time, Jared from Final Fantasy 15. He just has so much development. They really fleshed out that character a lot. When we actually had to avenge his character,
Brian,
it was Jared was pretty terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Ignis is just like a more fun character. I like I mean, even though it wasn't executed well, I still like the idea that he became blind from the actions with the with the whole Leviathan scenario happening. So I did like that. The worst character of the four to me is Gladios. He has some cool moments, but I really hate the fact that constantly, like, not like when bad things happen to Noctis, it's like, but all right, spoilers. You turn off from here. Yeah, I'm play 15, but after Luna Freya dies, Noctis is acting like how any other human in this world would react to their loved ones dying. It's like he's
it seems really out of place.
Remorse. I mean,
his anger.
Noctis is acting how he should be, and then instead of like, and he's still going on the adventure. He's still there. He's still going to like the Empire and such, but like, or getting his weapons like he's supposed to. But then Gladius keeps coming out of nowhere and telling him that like telling him how he should feel, or be like, well, you still got responsibilities and all that. So like, I'll be, if that was me there, I'll be like, shut the hell up. It's like, seriously, let the man just like have some
Breathe a little bit.
time
Yeah.
right now. He's still with you all. He's still on his adventure. He's never said he's not going
Yeah.
to do it. So well, leave him be. And then like the scene with Titan, where you have this gigantic Titan coming down and trying to crush you. If that was me, I'll be running around in a circle, scared out of my mind, hoping I just don't die. And like,
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not acting like a king. I just took on a giant Leviathan. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm being a coward? Yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, and then Gladius just has those just like random moments. Like, he's supposed to be the one to toughen Noctis up, but the execution, the writing of it is just so weird and out of place and bad timing that it makes it more annoying for me.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
I guess Prompto could be a next contender, but I mean, Prompto doesn't really do enough that makes me angry. I mean, he asks me all the time if I want to take a picture somewhere, or if he wants to take a picture of me or him, but
yeah.
besides that.
You know, it's hard for me to pick because, like, I agree with you for all the things that you said about Gladio, but you know, like, I think the biggest thing about him that just irritates me, and I don't know if this is fair to pick on, but like, they just did a really bad job with like going from Kingsglaive into the game itself, because you know Gladio's father was killed in the attack on Insomnia, and like they like don't even bring it up. It's slightly referenced in episode Gladio, but like there's no real resolvement of that conflict, and it just bothers me to no end that like they don't bring it up, they don't have any reaction towards it, and he's just like a rock the entire game. It does bother me, but at the same time, like, I don't know, like, I want to like Prompto, but like the fact that like Prompto goes missing and then you find him later in the game and he's like ashamed, or like he's scared to tell Noctis about this big secret, and like it's supposed to be this big moment, and like Prompto's just like, yeah, I was a machine or something like that, or like I'm a demon or something like that, and like everyone's just like, oh, don't worry about it, and that's the whole moment. Like there's nothing else about it. Like it was just poorly done, but I don't know if I can really say that's like my feelings on the entire character through the entire game. So I don't know. I guess if I had to pick one, I guess I would pick Gladio 2 now that I'm thinking about it. Unfortunately. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of the characters are particularly awful. I mean,
I thought Aranea was pretty cool.
For nearly 2 years now.
Yeah.
Badmouth 15. You know what my opinions of them are.
Well, I feel like the worst character was Tabata. That was a dumb joke, but yeah. Anyways, so I don't know. I mean, Aranea is a good contender for best character too. I really liked her character.
Oh, she was really cool.
Yeah.
Just unfortunately, we didn't really get any strong motivations from her on why she like decided to quit. She's like, I didn't feel like being part of it anymore. I mean, that's a weird thing. I think they should have expanded on that, but then again, they should have expanded on a lot of things.
Yeah. Looks like got some comments here. Lane says, I've come up with a new recipe with Ignis. Mike said,
Ignis, calm down.
Mike says, without Prompto's DLC, there's absolutely no setup for that moment when Prompto reveals who he is. It's so out of left field. Yeah, that's exactly the way I felt. It was just like I was so let down. Like I felt like this was going to be like a shining moment in the game, and it was like literally nothing. It felt like they just kind of tried to wrap it up real quick. It felt, you know what it felt like to me? It felt like the orphanage scene from Final Fantasy VIII. Like they're like it started to go in on that scene. I'm like, wait, they're like, you're kidding me, right? Like this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Like that's it. Like you're just going to try to wrap everything up in this one scene. That's it. Like it just that's the way it came across to me. But I think some people it didn't really bother. So
his comment about Prompto here, it's like without the context of the DLC, it does essentially come down to, guys, I'm a demon. I was built from here, and then they put me in the family. And then all of the 3 party members were like, they're like, awesome, bitching, let's go. And then they're like, you don't care? Like, you're cool. And like, then you just go on to the next thing. I'm like,
Yeah, it was
okay.
dumb.
It's like, we're
It
not
was,
going to explore this a little bit. No, no. Oh, okay. All right. Let's just go to the next part of the story. But
yeah,
I mean, I did hear about the Prompto DLC, and I did look a little bit of it. So it gives the character a lot more justice in that regard. But still, how the other characters react to it, I thought was pretty lame and
yeah. It
like
was. It wasn't very good. Let's say that it wasn't very satisfying. And
nothing was
it
fine.
yeah, there was very little about the base model of that game that I found satisfying. Prompto was a cool and fun character, though. He could make you laugh, and he had his moments. So I guess that could put him a little tad bit above Gladio, depending on how you look at it. I think Prompto was more disappointing. Gladio was just very dull the entire game. So I think that's the best way I could put it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's all 15 games. The best and worst characters in our eyes. I guess we could have done the side games too, but that would take a whole another hour. So maybe that'll have to be another.
Dragon Quest next week, everyone.
And I'll comment on like the 3 or 4 games that I played.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways,
maybe one day.
I'm getting there. But all right. So I think that about wraps us up. 2-hour podcast. So seems like a good place to end it here. But we'll have another episode next week. And hopefully we'll stream that one, and we'll see you all then.
All right. See you guys.
Talk to you later, guys.